On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, here are my top 5 stories from the cryptocurrency space, and plus one chart of the day, a new segment I'm playing around with. Today it's going to be Bitcoin USD. Timestamps available in the video description if you wish to skip ahead to a particular story. And if you want to earn cryptocurrency rewards for watching my videos, make sure you head over to the website, thecryptoverse.show, click on this big blue button that says Get Paid to Watch, and there's a little video that explains exactly how that works. But for now, let's get into the first story. Apparently, the Tron virtual machine just went live. I say apparently because a bunch of people are talking about this on social media, but when I went to the official channels, Medium blogs of the Tron project, they don't seem to make a big song and dance about this themselves. Now we know the mainnet for Tron is already live, but the virtual machine is exactly what it sounds like. It opens up the possibility to deploy apps. Now, my take on Tron these days is it has one big competitive advantage since it bought out BitTorrent. So you may be familiar with BitTorrent. I've got the website up here, it's bittorrent.com. Feel free to check out that for yourself. But basically, BitTorrent is a technology that's been around since the early 2000s. And it's been well developed as a censorship-resistant piece of technology. Now, a blockchain is a decentralized database that cannot be censored, but apps also need decentralized file storage that can't be censored. Now, Ethereum doesn't really have that second part, not as part of the system design anyway. You can develop an Ethereum app and deploy it, but you as the developer have to work out how to deal with your file storage and how to integrate any third-party systems like IPFS, for example, into your Ethereum-based app. EOS, in fact, was supposed to have something called EOS IO storage, which made use of IPFS to give app developers a true cloud-like app platform. But right now, EOS IO storage is nowhere to be seen, despite the white paper coming out months and months and months ago. Meanwhile, though, Tron have a long-established technology in the form of BitTorrent that allows anybody to download the BitTorrent client software and become part of this decentralized file storage swarm. So this is the project they call Project Atlas, which you can check out here. Link will also be in the video description. Project Atlas is Tron plus BitTorrent. So I think they know what they're doing with this one. If you want to keep an eye on this project, go to the website for Project Atlas, sign up to their email list, and they'll keep you abreast of it as it develops. Next story. While some people don't seem to like the structure of EOS and its 21 block producers, here's one of the big benefits of such a structure. Despite the year-long ICO, here's a page from EOS Authority. Despite the year-long ICO, a certain number of accounts, around about 20,000 of them, failed to follow the instructions in the token sale and generate themselves a pair of EOS keys and then link it to their Ethereum address. What that meant is that now that they're all frozen on the Ethereum network, there are 20,000 odd accounts that have EOS tokens they can't access. So one of the big benefits of block producers in EOS being known and being identified is that they can collaborate openly. So in this case, a group of block producers have got together and created a process by which these 20,000 accounts can get access to their unregistered EOS tokens. So according to the EOS Authority thing here, it was about 20,000 accounts, 10% of the original token sale allocation. So if you need to claim your unregistered EOS tokens, visit the links in the video description. There's a little tool on EOS Authority's website where you can enter your Ethereum key and see if you are one of the unregistered accounts, and then you can follow the process. Next story. Here's an example of why governments may be forced to adopt a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. This story is from the end of August, and it's been in my news pool for a while, but today there was a space in the show for it, so here it comes. So it's Bits Online article, Russian official proposes replacing the dollar with crypto for arms deals. Now, we've been discussing lately that President Maduro of Venezuela is pushing this petro as a national cryptocurrency in order to get around United States sanctions. The problem they have with the petro is that the Venezuelan government control it, and therefore they're going to have a problem getting other governments to trust it. So to state that plainly, governments may behave in similar ways, but they absolutely do not trust each other. So this article reports that the Gostumd Committee of Economic Strategy has initiated this proposal to abandon the use of the US dollar in domestic arms sales. It says their vice chairman wants to show the Americans that sanctions are not effective when dealing with Russia. Here's the key point though. It says Russia wasn't entirely happy to be paid in Venezuela's crypto for a shipment of truck parts. So this vice chairman also says that nations might not clamour for a Russian crypto either. So he's smart enough to know that governments don't trust each other, they don't trust the petro as payment, so why would anyone trust the Russian cryptocurrency? See, governments don't trust each other. So by the same token, they will not trust a government-controlled cryptocurrency, evidently. What they seek is a neutral currency for international trade. And to my mind, Bitcoin is the ideal choice, and it can be used right now, as it is, even with its current processing capacity. In fact, international trade deals are perfect as a use case for Bitcoin, since they are large transaction sizes, and they can wait, for 6 block confirmations. Waiting an hour for 6 block confirmations, it's not a problem. And the monetary value of these transactions is so high that even transaction fees in the hundreds of dollars wouldn't matter. So I would argue that Russia would be more willing to pay more for a cryptocurrency transaction fee if it helps them get around their sanctions, because it solves a real problem, and a big one at that. There is a counter to this though. What I think would likely happen is that once the US government sees Bitcoin being used by the likes of Russia to bypass their sanctions, they're going to come down on it like a ton of bricks. The thing with that though is it won't help. All the US can really do is limit the use of Bitcoin by its own citizens. If the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, start paying each other in Bitcoin for international trade deals, there's almost nothing that the US government can do about it. So while I'm not happy about arms deals in general, the fact of the matter is that they're going to continue to happen for the time being. And if we can leverage that existing force to get Bitcoin to become an international trade currency, well then longer term, that will lead to the ultimate reduction of governments' ability to wage wars. To put it politely, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. And on my mission to free humanity from tyranny, I'm willing to do certain things that you may not personally approve of in order to win the overall war. I'll not say any more about that, but if you want to know more about what I'm talking about, read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Next story. A new research paper is out providing an analysis of Chinese influence on Bitcoin. So here we go. I've got a link directly to the paper, The Looming Threat of China, an analysis of Chinese influence on Bitcoin. Joined and written by some researchers at Princeton University and the Florida International University of Miami. So the first thing to note here is that over 70% of Bitcoin mining power is controlled by just 6 mining pools. So most people think Bitcoin uses proof of work. It doesn't. It's supposed to, but it doesn't. Bitcoin has become a delegated proof of work system. So the way this works is that you have your Antminer S9 in your garden shed, but rather than mining on your own for a exclusive block reward, that's like trying to win the lottery. It's never going to happen. So you join a syndicate, just like you do with the lottery, aka a mining pool. And it makes sense to join one of the biggest mining pools, so you get more of a chance of a share of a mining reward and a steadier income to make your mining business sustainable. So what you do is you delegate the mining power from your Antminer S9 to your chosen mining pool, and the mining pool manages everything. So all you do is you're just a dumb hasher, right? You don't have to do anything else. You just delegate it to the pool and they manage it on a higher level. So this is centralization born out of economies of scale, basically. The problem is when those pools are largely based in China and the Chinese government decides to put pressure on the managers of the mining pools. So if you want to compromise the Bitcoin network, you're better off compromising the 6 biggest mining pools and thereby gaining 70% control over the Bitcoin network, or at least the mining anyway. And this is why I like the EOS model, because instead of 6 mining pools, EOS has 21 block producers, which are the equivalent of mining pools. So to gain control of the EOS network, you would have to compromise 15 of them rather than 6. Another problem caused by mining being centralized in China is the heavy regulation of the Chinese government and the restrictions they place on the internet. So the Great Firewall of China, for example, filters all Chinese internet traffic, and that puts a bit of a drag on bandwidth. And in the past, this has incentivized Chinese mining pools to mine empty blocks. So an empty block means that it's very small in file size, so it can be propagated to the Bitcoin network much faster because it's only like 15 kilobytes instead of a 1 megabyte. But the miner still gets a block reward because it's a valid block. So they still get the Bitcoin mining reward, but because it's an empty block, no transactions are included. So no transactions are confirmed within that block. So it doesn't actually help process any transactions at all if they mine a empty block. But there's an incentive to do that if you're a Chinese miner for the reasons I just stated. So these Chinese government regulators, they also affect Bitcoin mining by manipulating the energy prices. That has a direct impact on Bitcoin miners and then a knock-on effect on the Bitcoin network. Now, individually, all these problems in the paper, they may be solvable by addressing them individually, right? But they're only acting on the symptom, not the cause, right? So to balance this argument out, I had to think about it. And here's an insight. If Bitcoin mining reflected the distribution of global population, well, you would expect China to have the most Bitcoin miners since it's the most populous country in the world. That makes logical sense, right? That was my first thought in defense of what this research paper says. However, my defense immediately falls apart when you find that China only accounts for 19% of the world's population. So basically, China is way overrepresented in Bitcoin mining when you look at it through the lens of population distribution. Now, you may find looking at Bitcoin mining by world population density a dumb way of looking at it, but all I'm doing there is just practicing the art of mental flexibility rather than just jumping to hard conclusions and staying within a certain paradigm. So that's just a practice that I think is helpful in remaining objective. Next story. Canadian bank freezes $28 million belonging to cryptocurrency exchange, as reported by Crypto Globe. So here's another example of something we've been talking about this week. Banks using their power to mess with cryptocurrency businesses and allowing them to continue to succeed. So like I said in at least one video this week, this creates a huge incentive to ditch the use of fiat currencies and instead adopt one of the increasingly available stablecoins. So it says here in the article, quote, court documents state that the bank's decision to freeze the accounts stemmed from its inability to determine ownership of the said funds. Close quote. You know what I say to that? Ding, ding, ding. What is the number one thing the blockchains do better than anything else? They make it effortless to prove ownership of something. Thus, with a cryptocurrency stablecoin, the exchange would be able to prove that it owned the 28 million of, say, koala dollars in an instant just by signing a transaction. It would take 5 seconds. So I chose the koala dollar, the KUSD, by the way, because their stability mechanism is on-chain. Right, so check them out at koala.tech. I didn't say the Gemini dollar because while there is an Ethereum-based stablecoin that's linked to the US dollar, it still can be frozen by the Gemini exchange, which I believe is a requirement by their regulators. So not the Gemini dollar. Now moving on to a new segment, which I may or may not keep, the chart of the day. So this will be a quick and easy one because many people were looking for an explanation of why the Bitcoin price dropped so significantly. So here it is. This is the chart going way back to February. And as you can see, looking at all the major peaks on the daily chart, all we did was just hit this downtrend line and then pulled away from it hard. So there you go. That's it. That's all we really need to know. Simple explanation. It's a bounce off the downtrend line that was established for most of the year. That's it. So go ahead and draw that yourself and you'll see what I'm talking about. But that's all I've got for you today. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with anyone you think it will be of value to. And make sure you head over to thecryptoverse.show and click on this big blue button that says Get Paid to Watch if you want to find out how to earn cryptocurrency rewards for watching the Cryptoverse without ads. So there's a video that tells you all about that. But other than that, I'll be back with the next episode of the Cryptoverse. Until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.